Source 2 was introduced in 2015 by Valve as an update to the old and outdated Gold Source build. So far, Dota 2 has been ported to the engine, and new Valve games developed since have been built on the software, including the lab. But how close are we to implementing this new stuff to Team Fortress 2? I'll go through a few factors that I consider while developing my prediction. Number 1. Physics. Team Fortress 2 is known for its physics engine, but maybe not in the way you might think. Take a look at Soldier. One of his biggest traits is the ability to rocket jump, which is done to take advantage from the skies to reach high places quickly. The same goes for the demo man or the Pyro. This is all thanks to the elaborate physics engine that Source proudly holds, the havÖK physics engine. However, Source 2 uses a different custom-made one, which is called Rubicon. This could mean that even the slightest changes to movement or collisions in TF2 could have drastic differences on the gameplay. If strafing in the air uses a different mechanic than havÖK engine, we might need to relearn certain jumps or completely remake jump maps from the start. What if we can't surf on ramps and ramp slides are completely diminished? Valve has to get the movement, physics, and collisions just right to make it feel like the original engine, or else a lot of gameplay and custom game modes would die as a result. Of course, a new physics engine could introduce new features with it, but in my eyes, this would be a sideways step. Remember that huge communities are built off things like surfing or jump maps. Number 2. Hats. Team Fortress 2 has a huge digital item economy. There are hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of items traded every day between players. These skins and hats would either need to be scrapped, pun intended, or somehow ported to the new Source 2 engine. This could be a big task for Valve to prove off. They can't just not port over hats. That would render several $100,000 of money nearly useless. The reason that unusuals and skins are worth a lot of money is because they're rare and they're expected to be around for a while. I don't see Valve just removing these items for the sake of a newer engine. Number 3. Content creation. Team Fortress 2 is getting on for over 10 years old now. It's clear that the engine desperately needs an update for a more modern version. If you've ever used the Hammer editor, which is used to create maps for Source games, it's obvious that Source is very dated software. Unlike newer engines like Unreal Engine, lighting must be pre-compiled and saved as a separate file for a level. If a mapper wants to go check the lighting in the level to make sure it looks okay, they need to go through a 5 to 15 minute compile for each version, which also runs the risk of crashing or freezing if something isn't right. Part of the reason Valve is introducing Source 2 in the first place is to make content creation easier for everyone. Mappers, hat makers, and anyone involved with the Source 2 engine sees the new engine as a holy grail, potentially making content for games relatively easy and simple. Number 4. Valve says so. I don't need to say anything more about the matter because Gabe Newell himself has already spoken. In the recent Ask Me Anything on Reddit, Gabe says that Source 2 will more likely be used as a long-term engine which will be used to build a foundation for unannounced projects, like Half-Life 3. They've already done this with their recent VR game, The Lab. It was built off Source 2. However, since TF2, CSGO, and Dota are being around for a while, updating those to the Source 2 engine is also in their greatest interests. However, from Uncle Dane's recent trip to Valve, there are only 16 people in Team Fortress 2's team, and the amount of workload on the plate right now is already insane. In order to get the update to the Source 2 engine, a huge amount of work would be needed to put in. It simply isn't possible right now, or reasonable for Valve to take such a leap, especially since it isn't just a one-off deal. It's a long-term investment to the update to the new engine, because there are bugs to be fixed, big chances to implement, and so on, long after Source 2 comes to the game. So, in summary, Valve would love to update all games, including TF2 to the new engine, but the amount of workload, risk, and effort it would take to bring Source 2 to the table is too far out to be considered right now. It may not happen anytime soon, but I would definitely say that it's in their long-term interests, and eventually all Valve games will get an update. And when that update comes, there will be much rejoicing.